There are days that are often overlooked and forgotten in Zambia's history books. These days range from the 19th to the 24th of October 1978, when Zimbabweans and a few Zambians were bombed and raided by the Rhodesian Air Force and Army. Hi, and welcome to the Njinjila Investigative Channel. We're a new animation channel that tells local and African stories from an indigenous perspective. If you want to see more local stories retold and explored, like and follow our channel. You can even suggest events that you'd like us to cover. We will oblige to your request. In this episode, we uncover the day and events leading to the bombing and raiding of Zambia by the Rhodesia fighting units. Operation Gatling, as it was called, was a joint force operation on Zambian soil by the Rhodesian Air Force and Army. The goal of this mission was simple: to attack and kill all guerrilla camps of Zimbabweans seeking refuge in Zambia during the Rhodesian Bush War, or Second Chimurenga of 1964 to 1979. The war was among three forces: the Rhodesian white minority government led by Ian Smith, the Zimbabwean African National Liberation Army, ZIMRA for short, led by Robert Mugabe, and the Zimbabwean People's Revolutionary Army, ZIPRA for short, of Joshua Nkomo. The war was about the control of Zimbabwe, or Rhodesia as it was then known. At the peak of the war, most of the black nationalists fighting for ZIMRA and ZIPRA were forced into hiding in neighboring Angola, Zambia, and Mozambique, and had to rely on guerrilla attacks to fight the war. ZIPRA nationalists, in particular, set up several camps in Zambia: in Chikumbi, north of Lusaka, Lusaka Wastelands, northeast of Lusaka, Mukushi Girls Camp, further west of Lusaka, and Rufunza. The attack on these camps in Zambia by the Rhodesia Army and Air Force was in retaliation to ZIPRA's atrocious action of shooting down a passenger airline, Air Rhodesia Flight 825, on the 3rd of September 1978. The plane was a scheduled flight from Kariba to Salisbury, now Harare, when it was shot down by ZIPRA guerrillas using an SA-7 air-to-surface missile. The missile damaged the plane and forced it to make a ditch landing in a cotton field west of Kairoi town. On impact, the plane cartwheeled and broke up, killing 38 of the 56 passengers on impact. Of the 18 survivors, 10 were killed by gunfire of ZIPRA forces who came to finish them off. 5 survivors would manage to escape the massacre, while another 4 luckily survived as they were fetching water for the injured survivors when the ZIPRA guerrillas attacked. Later that evening, ZIPRA leader Joshua Nkomo would claim responsibility of the attack in an interview with BBC. In retaliation, Ian Smith suspended any peaceful talks with Joshua Nkomo and launched attacks on both ZIPRA and ZIMRA people seeking refuge in Zambia and Mozambique. The attack in Zambia was codenamed Operation Gatling. In the early hours of 19th October 1978, the Rhodesian Air Force, led by the squadron leader Chris Dixon, known by his call sign Green Leader, flew into Zambia at a very low altitude to avoid being spotted by the Zambian radar. This squadron was made up of 4 jet bombers known as English Electric Canberra, 8 jet fighter aircrafts called Hawker Hunters, 4 Alouette 3K Cars helicopters, and 1 World War II military transport aircraft called the Douglas C-47 Skytrain, or Dakota. The Canberras were loaded with a total of 1,200 alpha bombs. The first base to be attacked was the Wastelands Farm, northeast of Lusaka. As this site was so close to Lusaka, the Zambian Air Force had to be forewarned not to retaliate and engage. Green Leader would then send a transmission from his plane to Lusaka Tower at Lusaka Airport, informing the controller that the Rhodesian Air Force had taken over the Zambian airspace and that it was attacking Rhodesian dissidents and not against Zambia. The controller was also told that if any Zambian Air Force aircraft takes off, they would be shot down. The Zambian Air Force and Army obeyed these orders and made no attempts to resist these attacks and temporarily halted air traffic. A recording of Green Leader's orders to the Zambian Air Force is available on the internet for anyone interested. A Kenyan Airways passenger plane expressed disappointment when it was forced for landing at Lusaka International Airport, as it had to wait for clearance to land from the Rhodesian Air Force that had control of the Zambian airspace for about an hour. The squadron then made way for the Rufunsa camp and bombarded it. After bombarding the wasteland and Rufunsa camps, the squadron split, with some making way to attack the Mkushi Girls camp and others the Chikumbi site. The attack on the Mkushi camp saw the highest casualties, as it was a two-phase attack. The camp was first bombed, and as people ran around and scattered, Rhodesian soldiers landed and finished off those hiding in bushes and makeshift tunnels. Ground forces would remain on hand for a day or two to finish off survivors and capture their leaders and uncover more ZIPRA bases in Zambia. In total, over 1,500 people were killed, 1,348 wounded, and 192 reported missing. Of the casualties reported, 37 of those killed in the raids were Zambians. In comparison, only one Rhodesian soldier was killed, 3 wounded, and 1 helicopter gunned down. Assaulting targets deep into Zambia was a first for the Rhodesian forces. Previous attacks into Zambia were only done near the borders. By all measures of account, this was an act of war, and the Zambia Army's lack of retaliation was a sign of humiliation and impotence of the Zambian Defense Forces. The raids of these camps brought the realities of war right at the doorsteps of Kenneth Kaunda, and did not strike back. He would later be quoted saying, "Retaliation would be like committing suicide." In Zambia's defense, it was only 14 years after it gained independence when these attacks happened, and the Rhodesian Air Force and Army had been branded as one of the best fighting units in the world by the Times magazine in 1977. However, when public criticism accused Kaunda of only being hard on his own people and not international aggressors, on the 22nd of November 1978, he would divert funds that were badly needed for developmental projects to finance purchase of new military weapons. A memorial has since been erected at the Mkushi camp on the mass graves to commemorate those that died in the attacks. ZIPRA forces would in turn retaliate by bombing another plane known as Air Rhodesia Flight 827 on 12 February 1979. The plane was shot down in the same way as Air Rhodesia Flight 825 5 months earlier that led to the attacks in Zambia. This time, all 59 people on board died on impact. On this occasion, Rhodesian forces would bomb the ZIPRA forces hiding in Angola as retaliation. The Rhodesian Bush Wars would end in 1979 and Zimbabwe would finally gain independence in 1980. The Green Leader would remain in Zimbabwe until his death in 2011. Leave us a comment on the attack in Zambia and the Rhodesia Bush Wars, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.